as people who live mindfully, the 5D mystics, we know about the ones who want to shame others and who demonize and who don't know how to say they're sorry. That's because they actively all could use Patrick Tiahan, a good therapist. So let me share stories with our cards. You see, energy is able to be read from two ends of a spectrum. I'm going to read it to you from the enlightenment vibration spectrum, and that's where the 5D mystic is at. It's also why anyone who tries to put a spell, no, you can't. Actively, a 5D mystic knows you don't need protection from energy. It's yours, theirs, you're part of the whole. Okay, so we know that nobody is this demon, evil. The stories from the past were stories that explain what I today can give you with the words shame, blame, fault, revenge. People who need therapy to get their 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old healed, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, all their child parts unconscious and get a hold of their subconscious. Once they're done with good therapy and their higher self means they will have forgiven their home, then they come talk to us about 5D mystic land. And they will have a different way to perceive energy because they actively will have worked on their window of tolerance and they will have moved into window welcome. So they actively will have moved out of their survival mode and into their social engagement mode. So that means they can actively use that body and the emotion and thoughts with their clairs. Okay, so 4D bandwidth exists for a reason, and the 4D body type are people who could make use of, as I said, good childhood trauma therapists, and then once they're out, then they join mindful living, but they don't do this. I want life now. I want it now. They don't do that. They don't do the Zen master. I have laundry in my body. Laundry. No. Okay, so they actively do, again, oh, look, I have emotions. Oh, look, I have thoughts. Hey, cool. Okay, so we do that. And we don't blame people. We don't say they cursed us. And because we get a flu or something like that, or we get sick. I mean, seriously, or we don't get the job we wanted. So there's a way that people will demonize each other when they don't like each other, shame each other when they're not, again, empowered. And then there's people who don't know how to say they're sorry when they make up bullshit about each other either. I know how to say I'm sorry, but I actively have to share. I'm picky with my herd. So I pick them. And that's why I can know of them. So I'm thinking about what I love about true lovers. Yes. The ones who know how to love. They don't have to be romantic. We know how to say we're sorry. It's not by saying we're sorry. No, we actively have a conversation. In depth ones. Oh, they're beautiful. I love in depth because formalities are bullshit. Yeah, we don't do that. Yeah. So, whenever you got a cold king, they're not a king. They actively have a body that is not participating with a heart. They get caught into the 7 of cups with people fucking, drinking, drugging. They do lust. They don't care to build deep connections. So we're not sad that they don't actively know how to converse. You see, because they don't know how to. Okay, so we will leave it alone, and then we will wait and engage with the ones who know how to actively wield their mind, and they don't get confused with the 7 of cups, and they don't get confused between love, and they don't want lust. They don't want any of the shame, blame, fault, revenge. So they don't want to be with a stromboli, okay? Because here's the other, they can be with that when they do the lust stuff, yeah, and they're basically in childhood trauma and they're out with a codependent type person, they end up with a Queen of Swords that isn't so nice. And they end up passionate thinking they are going to build something, ends up being codependent and heartbreak, and they don't do anything to get out of it. Now, the ones who don't go to therapy, they actively perpetuate what is a shame cycle in dating people that they keep on thinking are going to be the one, and then they find themselves in their actual childhood trauma again and again and again. It's unfortunate. Patrick Tian talks about it. So that's why we don't need to shame other people or demonize them when they don't come to commit. We, the actual Queen of Swords, in the good energy, we have fun, we consciously choose who we want to engage in. If they don't stick around, we're busy with stuff and we know how to heal. We know that we are our own 10 of cups and we can always talk when our mind is thinking about something and not in rumination, we actively build solid foundation and keep an open mind and an open heart. Okay, so the two different energies are different because the enlightened people know how mindful living works, which is why we don't ruminate. And the people who they instead, again, ruminate, they actively like to use Lucifer's name, and then they like to say and think that there's love spells and stuff like that. So we leave that one alone. Again, walking away from anything that is emotionally unfulfilling is easy for the ones who have chosen their self. We know how to love ourselves. We know how we are a star, and so do the people who actively leave their shame cycle. They take ownership of their feminine. They become their empress, and they are healed, and then they're ready for actual loving relationships. So 5D mystics, we only are here and here, and this is something easy because mindful living, no laundry, Zen master. We don't need to fuck around, drink around, drug around. We don't do that stuff. That's actually very bad. Also, again, lust, not interesting. And people who don't know how to talk to you don't know how to actually be in a relationship. So they don't know how to be an empress or an emperor, and that's why we will know that they're not our wish fulfillment, because our wish is that all people are loving to each other and kind. And our wish is that we have an in-depth relationship. So that means that we get to talk about our thoughts and our feelings, and not with a cold King of Swords or a cold Queen of Swords. No, the swords are about the mind. When you have a heart with the mind, they're always going to be like the King of Cups and the Queen of Cups, but with the swords. And then with our lovely wands and our lovely coins. So building that empire comes with Emperor Empress energy, and that's where you hold your own and others hold their own. And a 5D Mystic Enlightenment story will be basically we get to expand thanks to our oversoul. So people who don't know how to say they're sorry, they don't have the desire to be their self. People who demonize, they dehumanize human beings, and they actively make up bullshit about the ancients and their stories of magic. And energy sphere is not about magic. And when they shame others, or they shame us for being ourselves because we are using our clairs and our words and creating stories that are more ideal for the time and now, yeah, we're not impressed, nor are we ashamed. We actively know that they are on the shame end of the spectrum because their vibration is so small that basically they're a cold King of Ice and a cold Queen of Ice, and they both get really well along as they make pretend that they're toxic, codependent, shameful relationship. It really does look awful when you see those energies. We'll be back with more on that note because, yes, I'm thinking about this couple. They're completely, yeah. I'm thinking about the, those pictures from the ancient times, people that are just so cold. And that's what happens when you're leading with your safety behavior and your amygdala. So you're not using your prefrontal cortex. You don't know how consciousness works because your left and right aren't working together. It's called non-bilateral integration. So we'll know when we have an armored-in poor inner child because the body will give it away. So will the words, and they will definitely demonize human beings and use the word Lucifer all over the place and shame others. And yeah, not interesting. What's more interesting is when we have the mindful people. We're going to talk about that one, those who do know how to talk from the heart. So we'll be back shortly. Welcome aboard to all of those of you who are 5D mystics and not. We do spiritual self-help mindfulness here and secular, but obviously I am a spiritual person. So let's make sure you know that I'm always going to integrate some fun stuff and in a very different way because, again, energetic imprint, not evil. No, news stories. So we're going to use Maria's words here at IHP. You can ask questions. I love answering them. We'll be back shortly.